Either you are someone who's been waiting for Jane all this time or someone looking to invest into Jane, 1.7 will be amazing for you, because we're finally getting rerun for Jane. Welcome back. Today I'm bringing you an updated guide for Jane with the best build, teams, and kit explanation so you can understand if she's the right choice for your account. Starting with a quick review, Jane was the very first limited anomaly unit in the game. With an amazing moveset that rewards you for staying in the field and dodging enemy attacks, Jane can deal a really interesting damage through the use of anomalies. Actually, around 80% of her damage comes from assault triggers, so despite using a lot of basic attacks, your main priority is just stacking stats that will allow her to trigger bigger and faster assaults. She excels against aggressive enemies since this allows you to keep her passion state with a really high uptime, and this increases both your build up and damage to the enemies. Let's start by talking about her passion state. You can see your passion gauge right below her portrait, and you can build it by hitting enemies with attacks. Defensive assist and perfect dodges also increases your passion gauge by quite a lot, so that's why she's way better when playing against aggressive enemies. During the passion state, you get increased attack based on your anomaly proficiency and increased build up as well. Hitting enemies during this passion state will consume your passion gauge, but defensive assist and perfect dodges still refill your gauge. You can get up to 600 attack during the passion state by getting 420 anomaly proficiency on Jane. Entering the passion state also gives you one use of Salchow Jump, which you can use by holding down your base attack button. This move refills your passion gauge when hitting the enemy, but honestly, the build up is not that good. I would only recommend holding it if you want to refill your passion, otherwise just release right after she starts spinning. The reason for this is because Salchow Jump will link into your dash attack, and this then link into your basic attack 4, which gives you better build up and also some iframes on basic attack 6. Her dodge counter is really good both because dodging enemies generate passion, but also because the build up on her dodge counter is quite huge. Jane also has an extra dodge, so this just makes dodging enemy attacks even easier, because if you miss the first one, you can just dodge it again. EX special is really good both for the build up and the passion generation, but personally I would rather hold it until you are in the passion state for the increased damage. If you don't know how anomaly works, I have a whole guide for you, which I'm going to be linking in the top right corner. But basically speaking, your stats matter when building the anomaly on the enemy and not when triggering it. So you lose a lot of damage by using your EX special outside of the passion state. Both her chain attack and ultimate are quite important for you, not for the damage and build up it deals, but because they activate your passion state when using them. This allows you to keep your passion state during a stun window without a problem. Her ultimate can be used to bypass the anomaly internal cooldown, assuming you have enough build up on it, but you can also just use it outside of the stun window to refresh your passion state. Finally, let's talk about what makes Jane be Jane. Hitting the enemy with Jane applies a debuff that increases the duration of flinch by 5 seconds. If you don't know what flinch is, it's a debuff applied to the enemy when you trigger an assault on them, which increases the days received. This helps with keeping up the enemy under an anomaly, which is really good for disorders, weapons, and kit synergies. But that's of course not the important part. Jane core skill also gives crit chance for your assaults. As long as the enemy is under your core debuff, any assault or trigger on the enemy gets crit rate based on Jane's anomaly proficiency. The crit damage is somewhat fixed at 50% and can only be increased through her Mindscapes. And no, in case you're thinking about using crit rate and crit damage for your Jane, they won't work with her core skill. For core F, you need a total of 375 anomaly proficiency to hit 100% crit rate. In core E, you need 420, which is exactly the same anomaly proficiency required to maximize her passion state. On top of all these buffs, her additional ability gives you increased build up and even more if the enemy is already under an anomaly. To activate it, you just need another anomaly unit or a faction member on your squad. When leveling up your Jane, your main priority will be your core skill, since it allows you to hit 100% crit rate on your assaults with ease. After this, everything is a bit of a personal preference, since leveling up will only increase the damage of these attacks and not the build up. My personal recommendation is to focus on her EX special and ultimate, then level her basics, dodges, and assists, in whichever order you want to do. For her gameplay, most of the time you'll be playing reactively, meaning that you'll be focusing on dodging and punishing the enemy with your dodge counters. You can also use some of her long animations to quick swap for other units and reapply buffs as needed. For the stun window, you should aim for 3 assaults on the enemy, but how you manage to achieve this can depend on a lot of factors. Usually, you need to build up some assault before stunning the enemy, then you can start the stun rotation with Jane's chain attack, go into Cycle Jump with 2 EX special, and finishing with your ultimate. Once again, the ultimate can bypass the anomaly internal cooldown, so depending on your build up, you can hit another assault just with your ultimate. Now for the part that you've been waiting for, and you probably jump straight to here, right? In this case, hey, welcome back. Let's talk about building your Jane. This set is quite an easy pick, and you should use Fanged Metal for the 4-piece effect. The 35% damage bonus is quite easy to maintain, and even if you're not keeping it with 100% uptime, you can still get a lot of value from the extra damage. For the 2-piece set, just use any Anomaly Proficiency 2-piece set, since this is one of the best stats to stack on any unit that relies on anomaly damage. If you can't find good Fanged Metal pieces for a 4-piece set, feel free to run Chaos Jazz, Freedom Blows, and Fanged Metal 2-piece all together. Yes, the damage potential is smaller than running Fanged Metal 4-piece, but it's still quite solid in case you're lacking Fanged Metal discs. For disc stats, disc 4 is non-negotiable, and you need to run Anomaly Proficiency. Not only Jane requires a lot of Anomaly Proficiency to hit the cap of her core and passion buff, you can't find Anomaly Proficiency buffs that often as opposed to attack. Disc 5 is a subset matter. The difference is quite minimal, so just pick the one with the most rolls in Anomaly Proficiency and attack percentage. Disc 6 is quite complicated because it's all about breakpoints. Since Anomaly has an internal cooldown, you can't trigger assaults that often, so while stacking Anomaly Master can be a good choice, sometimes you're losing a lot of damage because of this cooldown on anomalies. Overall, Anomaly Master will be the best pick, but you can always consider going for attack percentage in case you're already hitting 3 assaults on the stun window without a problem. Finally, for substats, once again, focus on a lot of Anomaly Proficiency, followed by attack percentage, penetration and flat attack, and lastly, crit stats. Now let's talk about weapons. It might come as no surprise that Jane's signature is the best option for her. Offering 9 Anomaly Proficiency, 36% physical damage, and 40% build-up increase at phase 1, this allows Jane to consistently trigger assaults on the enemy and makes hitting 3 assaults on every stun window a piece of cake. If you can't go for her signature weapon, one of the best options will be Whipping Gemini. However, keep in mind it has a ramp-up time which can hurt your Jane DPS at the beginning of the fight, and without enough Anomaly Proficiency, you are losing a lot of potential from your core and passion attack buff. Electric Lip Gloss is a really good choice as long as you can get battle passes. Jane can easily keep this at 100% uptime, and the Anomaly Proficiency helps maximizing your buffs. More experienced players can also run Fusion Compiler on Jane, since you can cancel the special attack animation by using your dash. This won't work with your EX special, so honestly I can say for sure how good it is, but I know that I don't like doing these dashes just to stack Fusion Compiler, so for me, I would personally just use Electro Lip Gloss. Finally, let's talk about Mindscapes and pull recommendations for Jane. Mindscape 1 adds even more build-up for Jane and also a bit of physical damage. This is a mini version of her signature weapon, so you should see it as a stepping stone for Mindscape 2. Mindscape 2 is completely out of this world. It gives 50% defense ignore for all Jane attacks and assaults, and also gives 50% increased crit damage for your assaults. This is a really strong Mindscape that allows Jane to hit some insane numbers for her assault, and this also allows Vivian to trigger some huge abloons on the enemy. So if you're looking to some big numbers, this is what you should aim for. Mindscape 3 and 5 won't do that much for anyone, but on anomaly units it's even worse, so let's ignore this and talk about what matters. Mindscape 4 gives an 18% increase in the anomaly damage for all your squad members. This is really good even if Jane is the only anomaly unit in your team, because this is another multiplier and can scale all the damage Jane gets on her kit and signature weapon. Finally, Mindscape 6 is quite weird. Yes, it's a permanent uptime to your passion state, but the crit rate and crit damage it gives is almost pointless for someone who gets a lot of buffs on her assaults. Even at Mindscapes 6, Assaults makes more than 3/4 of her total damage output, so I don't know exactly what's the point of this one. My personal recommendation when it comes to pulling Jane is, if you are a waifu gamer, do whatever you want because waifu is always better than meta. But if you are free to play, I wouldn't actually recommend you going for Jane unless you really like the character. I mentioned a couple of times already, and if I could refund a single unit from my account, it would be Jane. At Mindscape 0 and without her signature, I find myself running Piper way more than Jane. If you have units that can synergize with Jane or you have a lot of spare resources on your account, going for Jane is fine, but I will definitely leave her as a second priority. Jane wants your polychromes just for her, unlike other units that can actually provide a lot of value and flexibility for your account. That being said, if you still want to go for Jane, aim at the very least for M0W1, meaning one copy of Jane and one copy of her signature. After this, going all the way to Mindscape 2 will be a really good investment as well. I would actually say that going for Mindscape 2 takes higher priority than going for her signature, but that's a total of 3 Jane copies you need, so unless you saved all the way for this moment, I don't think you have a lot of hopes for this. After Mindscape 2, I wouldn't recommend going any further unless you want the name card for your profile. Now let's talk about teams, especially because Jane is going to rerun alongside a brand new anomaly unit that everyone's talking about. Jane, Vivian, and Astra is one of the best things you can get for both Jane and Vivian. Vivian can do a lot of damage using her bloom mechanic thanks to Jane's huge damage numbers and scaling on her assaults. I didn't get access to Vivian, so I can't say for sure how this thing feels on the field, but a lot of other content creators say that this is a really good thing to play. And I'm personally looking forward to testing this once Vivian releases. Of course, Jane Seth and another support unit was the classic way to play Jane on her release. For free-to-play players, this will be one of the best things for Jane. Seth's 100 anomaly proficiency can help Jane achieve maximum potential on her passion and core skill without the need to find really good discs. But personally speaking, while I enjoy everything that Seth can offer, I don't like how much field time he takes. But this is a personal opinion from someone who really enjoys speedrunning and pushing scores on Deadly Assault. For the third slot, you can run Lucy, Astra, Rina, Caesar, and even Pulcra if you want to. The idea here is to have a hyper carry team with units that can increase the damage potential from Jane. Just like Vivian, you can also run Burnies here for the increased damage without taking field time from your Jane. But I wouldn't recommend running single target buffs on the support slot, since this means you won't fully benefit from everyone's potential. Lucy is a really strong pick here, but you can't go wrong with Astra as well. You can also run Jane with the classic support core of Nicole and Astra, and yes, you lose the additional ability which gives you a lot of build up, but as you can see here, my Jane at Mindscape 0 and without her signature can still hit some really interesting scores on Dead and Butcher. This is a really hard team to pilot since Nicole debuffs need to be applied before every single assault, but you can get a lot of value from the defense shred and even more if your Jane is at Mindscape 2. Basically speaking, as long as you pair Jane with units that won't steal field time from her, she will perform quite well. These are all just in examples, so feel free to make adjustments depending on what you have on your account. And for Bangboos, once again, we don't want to waste field time because we want to aim for 3 assaults on the stun window. So either focus on utility Bangboos such as Butler, Nightboo, Snapboo, Magnetiboo, or any physical Bangboo for some extra build-up. And that's everything for my Jane guide. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below, join my Discord server, or catch me live on Twitch and YouTube and drop your questions over there. Thank you so much for watching this video, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video.